Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out ScourgeBringer. This is one of the Vita swan songs, I suppose you could call it, brought to you by the same studio that brought you Vita, which was a sort of robot-based roguelike shooter. Wasn't bad. A little repetitive, a little dull sometimes, but overall, on the whole, wasn't a bad game. This one I think is. I legitimately think there is a lot wrong with this one, and it just does not flow together the way they intend it to. With that said, we have to go through the settings first, because there is a lot of bullshit here, and I have to go through to show you what I mean. So, language, screen shake, stat display, replay introduction, in-game timer. All of these are fine. Nothing wrong here. These could easily be in the game tab, but that's a nitpick. Controls are where it really starts to fall apart. I'm going to press the square button here to reset it to default because, oh boy. So, up, down, left, right, jump, slash, and smash. All of these are fine. Dash attack on R, that's okay. Shoot. Right side of the rear touchpad. Shooting is actually really important in this game. So to have it be a rear touchpad thing is one of the worst things imaginable. Especially since I'm playing this on OLED Vita with the bigger rear touchpad. So this just makes it next to bloody impossible to effectively shoot when I want to and when I don't want to, because there is no way for me to hold the Vita comfortably that doesn't result in one of my fingers slipping over the rear touchpad from time to time. And this is extremely important. You want this to be on a button more than anything else, because getting your shooting attacks out is really important. And even worse, you've got something else on the left side of the rear touchpad as well. This is the Fury attack, which is a thing that you can pull out when a meter's charged up that takes a fairly long time, and when you press it, it lets you hit multiple enemies on the screen. You want to save it for when you're in trouble. But here, nope, more than easy to hit it when you're just in a little bit of a dangerous situation and you need to be moving pretty quickly with the D-pad. Absolutely terrible to have them both here. And they wasted a face button for the map. The map. Something you don't even use in combat has been mapped to a face button, and it's fucking terrible. Let me tell you how to actually fix this game's control scheme, because if you weren't able to, I'd tell you to stop playing right here, because there'd be no point. There'd be no fucking point. So, here's how you fix it. Remap shoot to your circle button, just straight up. Because you need that there more than you need the map by far. Then remap the map to the L key. Because you don't have the ability to use the map when you're in the middle of a fight. So when you're in the middle of a fight, the block movement key is the only key that'll be set off when you're in the middle of that. And then when you're out of a fight, you'll be able to use the map. And as far as I can tell, you don't need to worry about doing anything when you've got the map open. And then for your Fury attack, remap that to select. Yes, I do not know why they put select here instead of on the fucking map. But they did. It's terrible. But even then, if they wanted to use shoot and Fury attack on something that wasn't the face buttons or the shoulder buttons, they completely missed out on the right thing to use. The touchscreen. It's right there. It works the same way. It's incredibly easy to avoid touching it by accident. Why didn't they use the left side of the touchscreen for Fury attack and the right side of the touchscreen to shoot? Would have been way more effective than the rear touchpad, but fuck them. I don't know. So many developers claimed to be fans of the Vita, and then they do stupid shit like this. I apologize for ranting so much about it just straight up, but this is just infuriating to me on a base level. Did they even play the game with the controls like this? Oh wait, no, they probably did. But you know what they played it on? Slim Vitas with the smaller rear touchpad. But even then, I still have trouble with accidentally hitting that thing more often than not. Especially in a game like this, which is so reliant on being precise. Having something as important as shooting being on the rear touchpad is criminal. Absolutely criminal. And if you weren't able to rebind the controls, I would have just dropped the game right here. I'm sorry, I had to rant about that. Good news, I'm going to be ranting about more. Regular slashing is usually done in bursts of multiple slashes at a time, so I don't know why hold to auto slash isn't on by default, because it would be so much better. Game speed and enemy bullet speed, okay, I suppose that's fine. The low HP blinking background effect is incredibly obnoxious, and not only that, but I've found myself thinking I was hit more often than not when this was on, because it's just a really bad effect, and you would do to have a way better way to show it. Text rendering is actually kind of neat, but at the same time, if you can't read this, you probably can't read this. Remember that this is on a 5-inch screen, so it might be a little bit easier, but I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm thinking not only does this not look like a problem, but there's some text here that just looks kind of odd. Like, the D on this game speed here looks a pixel wider than it does on the enemy bullet speed down here, probably because they didn't use like a pixel perfect font, or they're doing some kind of upscaling or something, and it just looks bad. It just looks really bad. Like they didn't even bother to look through it before they went and put it on the Vita. And then you've got the HP regen assist. This isn't regeneration, this is how often HP pickups drop. None is not where it should be. This is a question of game balance, and I disagree with this choice entirely. None should not be the default, because the game is one of the stingiest fucking roguelikes I have ever seen when it comes to how stingy it is with health pickups. It is unbelievable how little healing you will get throughout a regular run of this game, to the point where it feels like you're going to have to carry the majority of your health pool throughout the entirety of the game. Like, I managed to get through to the second boss with this turned off once. And even then, it was like, oh, you've only got 4 health for the entirety of the second stage. Good luck! It really feels like it should be on more HP drops, because at least that feels more reasonable for the first stage, because most roguelikes want to give you a little bit of breathing room, a little bit of practice room to play around with that isn't just a singular screen with no enemies on it. So they bias the health pickups to be a little bit more likely early on in the game, but then later on they slowly start taking it away to really ramp up the challenge. That would be more appropriate for this game, but it seems to be all or nothing with this one, and it's dumb. It's legitimately dumb, and for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to leave it on none, just to show you how stingy it is with health pickups throughout the first level, because that's probably as far as we're going to get. There's also invulnerability. Why it's in an option called HP Regen Assist, I have no idea. With that said, let's hit continue. Instead of me rambling about the upgrade system on the left here, or how shitty this guy is on the right, we're just going to jump straight in and play a session of it before I go on about how everything out there also sucks. So this is ScourgeBringer. Here's the drill. It's a roguelike. Get to the end of the stage. Kill as many monsters as possible. You get to the end of a stage by beating the crap out of a mini-boss monster that's usually somewhere in the level. It's pretty obvious what the mini-boss is, because it's a lot bigger than pretty much every other enemy of its kind. Once you've done that, the door to the regular boss will be unlocked, and then you can go beat it, and if you do, you move on to the next level. There are 5 levels in total. I have not seen past the second, and I've been playing this for about 3 hours, just for your information. It's also worth noting that the only way you can upgrade your abilities in this game is by beating the bosses and the mini-bosses. Fuck me dry. The only way you can upgrade your abilities is by beating the bosses and the mini-bosses. You don't get the upgrade currency at all. From gives back all HP, ammunition, and fury. For each enemy killed while not touching the ground. Kari gets 10% sword damage. No thanks. We're going to take a smash range increase. So as I was saying, you need to beat the bosses or the mini-bosses before you actually start getting upgrade currency. This also means that for a significant portion of the game, if you're like me and really having trouble with the way some of this game's mechanics work, you're going to be seeing the same bosses and mini-bosses for a really, really long time. And it is incredibly frustrating. But let me praise the game a little bit. Let me tell you about what works. The main thing that I really enjoy about ScourgeBringer is the maneuverability that you have access to. So you have access to a pretty basic double jump, and you also have access to a dash attack, which can be pulled out at almost any time. There's very little cooldown on it. You also have access to wall jumping and wall running, so you can run up the wall straight to the roof as you're... Fucking hell, really? Really? There was a blade slash right there, but it still didn't fucking die. I'm sick of that shit happening. But anyway. You can run up the wall, and you can get straight to the roof. And you can combine all of these movement abilities together because the dash attack has so little in the way of movement, in the way of cooldown, and jumps reset anytime you so much as touch a wall. None of these are worth it. So you can stay on the roof, you can be airborne, you can never touch the ground if you don't want to. And it's incredibly easy to do so. And as a result, the game does look kind of... Why the fuck? God, I hate it when they do this. They put things that you have to stay on the ground and slash because they have like a 50% chance that they'll deflect all your bullets. Right on top of fucking spike floors. It's so fucking frustrating to deal with them when you need to take care of that. God, I hate it. It's easy to remain above ground for as long as you damn well desire. And as a result, the first couple of times you play around with this and make it work to your advantage is great. And it does remain mostly satisfying throughout the game, right? I don't have a problem with the way this works at all. At least the movement. It starts to get let down by... Fucking Christ! It starts to get let down by the combat, though. Because the combat is way harder than it needs to be for no discernible reason. We're gonna go again because I'm not ready to talk about the upgrades yet. So here's how the combat works. Square button is your regular slash attack. Does a little bit of damage, easy enough to handle. Triangle is your smash attack. It's not like a combo ender or anything, it's just something you pull out at pretty much any time. And it will stun enemies. It also adds new abilities as you go on. The more enemies that you successfully kill with a slash attack or a smash attack, or a dash attack for that matter, because your dash is also an attack. Really? Really? But yeah, the more enemies that you kill using these attacks, you will slowly regain charge meter. This charge meter, when full, will reload your gun. When your gun has bullets in it, it can't be charged. So use as many of your bullets as you can as soon as you can. Take advantage of the fact that you've got a fucking gun. Because it's the only ranged attack you've got. And boy, is it gonna fucking suck trying to take on some of these enemies from long range. However, of course, Some enemies are resistant to stunning, some enemies are resistant to shots, and you need to figure out what's what and use what's effective at the right time. Come on. Let me get close to you. Fucking Christ, I hate it when they sync up like that. And sometimes this combat can just be really fucking annoying. Because see how that enemy there got a little exclamation mark over its head before it actually started shooting? This can happen at any time, even when you're directly on top of the enemy and slashing the crap out of them. I really don't get why this is like all or nothing. It's either they're stunned or they're not. Because the way this game works, with how you even move enemies about a bit with your physical attack, right? Like even when you're just doing your regular attack and not your smash, it still moves them about a little bit, but it still also allows them to just shoot immediately, and it just doesn't feel right. And there are also some enemies that don't give you this warning, like for example, these fucking like pots on legs that shoot at you if you get within, if you get to within like their line of sight, really. No, we're not doing that. That's a survival thing. Defeat every wave and you get a bunch of loot, but it's not worth the effort. Yeah, there are some enemies that alert you they're about to fire, some that don't. And it just doesn't end up feeling right at the end of the day to begin with, because even if you're on top of them and actively beating the shit out of them, it doesn't matter. They're still going to be able to shoot you anyway, and it just does not feel right. As a result, taking on any enemy up close just feels more dangerous than it's worth. As you can see, even with 2 heals, I'm already down to bloody 2 health. And I've been healed twice so far. And frankly, for this game, that's fucking generous. I've gone through this entire level and not been healed once. It's legitimately insane just how much it sucks for the healing economy in this game, because it just fucks you over. So little room to practice, so little room to get things right, because you're just going to be constantly making mistakes. Like, I barely got any warning there that he was going to shoot me. But he did, and I immediately died. This is not uncommon. And it's really not helped out by the fact that you start the game gimped. This isn't as massive of an issue for me as I am in the game now, but there are a bunch of abilities here that are incredibly obnoxious because they're so vital to getting a good run going, and they're locked behind the currency. So I've only got 4 Judge Blood. I haven't actually managed to get any because I've never made it to the fucking mini-boss. This is pretty much how my runs have been looking, by the way. But there are some here which are incredibly important, like the Lethal Club, for example. Your smash attack normally deflects bullets, at least in the runs that I've showed you, but that's something you actually have to unlock here. Fucking, what was the other one? Fury. 3rd on this tree. Lets you hit everything on the same screen. Bloody Striking Smash, which knocks enemies away if you actually hit them. And the Combo, which gives you more money the more enemies you manage to kill in more varied ways. These are all locked behind upgrades when these are so vital that you feel gimped without them. You spend the first hour of the game trying to figure out how the basic combat works, and then it's constantly throwing all this stuff on top of you. I managed to get to the first boss without the Lethal Club upgrade, and that boss is so hard without it that it definitely feels like you are meant to get this upgrade before you end up at the first boss. Which just makes me ask the question, why aren't some of these just in your moveset by default? It would make so much more sense. It would make some of these a little bit easier to go for, but after seeing a couple of the other ones that they've got available to us, it's not so much clear, but it gives off the intention they're just trying to be really fucking obnoxious about how the skill upgrades work. So, Lightning Travel allows you to fast travel to any visited room from the map. So basically, you open the map up, browse to a room, let the map button go, and you teleport straight there. You can only do this for rooms that you've already cleared. In a game like Monolith, which is a very similar game to this one, funnily enough, this sort of upgrade isn't an upgrade. It's free. It's 100% free, and you can do it at any time because it doesn't actually affect the gameplay or your skill in any way. In this, they've just made it an upgrade for the sake of being an upgrade, for the sake of making you work just that little bit longer for the good upgrade, which is the combo, which is something you feel like you should have in the first fucking place, because it's almost impossible to get the sort of blood droplets, which is this game's money that you would need to buy items in the item shops without getting this combo. And even then, they've made it a little bit more obnoxious than that. You might have noticed that between rooms, your combo actually goes away to a point. It goes up the meter, and when the meter fills up, it goes to 1.1 times, 1.2 times, 1.3 times. But then, when you finish a room, if you have a little bit of that meter left over, or a lot of that meter left over, you need to rush to the next room as fast as you possibly can and take out an enemy as quickly as possible. Otherwise, that combo meter will go away like a snap of the fingers. And as a result, it becomes really frustrating to play this until you've got this entire tree. Because this upgrade here is basically just, you get a little more time to get to the next room. That's it. Because they realized that they made a little bit of a poo-poo here by making it so that the combo wears off so quickly. But they were like, oh, let's just make it an upgrade instead of fixing our broken combo system. Instead of fixing how much HP people should be realistically getting, let's make it an accessibility option, which not only insults people like me who enjoy actually good game balance, it insults disabled people. They wouldn't need that. All they really need is those game speed settings and possibly the higher res text, but yeah, this entire skill system seems obnoxious because the thing I like about a game like The Binding of Isaac or Monolith or something along those lines is that you feel capable of getting to the end and beating the final boss right off the bat without any upgrades because they're well balanced enough to make it not easy to do that, but also not ball-bustingly hard just to get started. This game feels like it needs to run you through the first stage 10 times to give you enough of those goddamn judge bloods so that you can actually unlock all of the game's mechanics and start using them. And after about 3 hours, well, I should say more like after 2 hours of seeing the same enemies, the same bosses, the same stage, the same room layouts, I've got all the abilities I need to feel like I'm actually where I should have been when I started playing ScourgeBringer. I'm bored out of my mind, and there's still problems. There are still problems. Like, for example, my absolute least favorite attack in the game is the smash. And it's not because of, like, you know, its ability. Like, hit an enemy to stun it and send it flying across the room. That's great. But, again, remember, you don't send it flying across the room, you don't stun it, and you don't reflect bullets back with it either. At least when you start off. But my main problem with it is its bullet deflection ability. Because it relies on very specific timing, and not only that, but facing the right way. And I've been playing this for 3 hours, and not only can I not get this fucking timing right, because it feels super fucking weird, it's like this weird delay at the start, and then this weird delay at the end, and it just, oh god, it drives me mad. Like, you press the triangle button, and it doesn't come out for what feels like 3/4 of a second. And then it lasts for so little time that any enemy that shoots more than like one bullet at you, except for like those really slow dudes on level 2, don't bother trying to deflect their bullets because the third one is just going to come right through and hit you anyway. So don't fucking bother. Just don't bother using the bullet deflection unless it's one bullet you need to deflect. It feels like shit, is what I'm trying to say. The overall feel of the deflect attack is terrible, and it doesn't help it out that when you buy it, it says deflects shots back at the enemy that it came from. This isn't true. Half the time, the bullets don't go back to the enemy they get deflected from. They just go horizontally for some reason. Doesn't matter where the enemy is, doesn't matter where you are. it'll just get deflected into a horizontal or a vertical attack, and you'll just get nothing done with it. It's so bad. It feels like shit. It makes me frustrated just trying to use it, and it doesn't even do what it's supposed to do half the fucking time. Like, that situation there I get, where it was like, oh, the bullets got redirected to an enemy you can see. That's fine. But sometimes the bullets just don't get reflected to any enemy, and they just go somewhere completely different. And it's incredibly frustrating to deal with. And again, combine that with the fact that it's so punishing on these timings that you'll lose half your health trying to get these parries right and just not getting it right. The fact that the game is a fair bit hard, even without all of this. It is legitimately one of the harder games on the Vita, although again, not for the right reasons, I would imagine. I would imagine myself saying at the very least. And there's just so little in the way of, like, health pickups and just all of this, everything I've just talked about, combines together to make a game that's just completely unsatisfying. Also doesn't help that I'm a bit shit, because admittedly they do actively warn you that dashing doesn't actually deflect bullets or block bullets or let you dodge bullets. So you don't have any sort of, like, dodge whatsoever. It's all about maneuvering around. But when you've got enemies like this, that make it, it's just really hard to fucking parry them. Parry their bullets, just because of how the parry timing works. They can do shit like, you'll cycle around a thing just a little bit too early, and they will auto-aim their bullets to where you're going to be sometimes, and make it so that you just get hit anyway. Oh, for God's sake. You'll maneuver around an obstacle, they'll start shooting, and when they finish shooting, you'll be on the other side of the obstacle, but they'll have tracked you all the way and you'll get hit anyway. That's what I'm trying to say. And as a result, it just makes the entire thing really frustrating. You feel like you're gimped, then you feel like you're slightly ungimped, but it's like, why didn't they give me this earlier? The entire game just works way better once you've got all your abilities. And some of them just feel arbitrary and obnoxious, i.e. being able to fast travel with the map, or being able to do a certain set of things. Like, some of these I can buy, like the moves, like being able to do the downward slam. Like, see, did you see that? For some reason the game was like, I'm not going to deflect those bullets back at the guy, I'm going to deflect them just at the door to the right. Why it does that, I have no idea. And it just drives me insane. You start out gimped to going from, why didn't they just give me some of these things right up front, because they would have actually been better being in the base combat set, and I can just make it work better normally, to, it's been 3 hours, I've seen this intro set of stages 100 fucking times, and I'm so bored of them due to the lack of variety in both the enemies, the sub-bosses, and just, even the upgrade system is kind of whack. Like, hang on, was this the store here? It was. So, shield increases your reload speed, or just a different gun, but I've seen very little of these different guns just because I haven't been able to raise the blood for them before I die. But the only thing that really changes in terms of the actual gameplay is what your gun is, which usually means just, does it fire faster? Does it do more damage? That's generally all I've seen so far. Or at least, managed to be able to afford. All the other upgrades are just stats. Reload faster, do more damage, sometimes make stunning a little bit more effective. Shit like that, you know? As a result, I just find myself getting more and more frustrated the more I play. And it doesn't help when they're happy to put enemies into bullshit situations. Like, sometimes they'll put those weird cannon dudes, the pots on legs, they'll put them on spiky floors. And it's like, why? why do you do this to me? Because I have to go down there and hit them because they're like 50% of the time, bullets just bounce right off them. So it's like, okay, what do I do about that? Well, you just go and hit them, of course, but then they put them on a spiky floor so that you can only hit them once or twice before you start falling to the ground. God, I hate this mini-boss because you just have to get so close to it and you have to rely on the stupid parry timings and it's just, fuck. Wait a... What? Oh, fuck. Was that one of those fucking slugs on the wall that I couldn't fucking see because they're so goddamn tiny? Christ on a bike. Oh yeah, that guy on the right is useless too. He starts out with good advice. I wouldn't have known that... Oh look, this guy. He gives you random shit. Like 1 every 3 runs. I don't know why. But he just does. Actually, I don't think it's random shit. I think he gives you a predetermined set of upgrades. But it's not much. At least not in the grand scheme of things. Instant Fury. I've seen that like once. Just to try and finish what I was saying before. You go from gimped to you should have been like this in the first place to God, some of these upgrades are really obnoxious. Why didn't they just let me have those? Like the fast travel, for example. And you're still being fucked over by the lack of reasonable HP drops on the default settings. So even things like this. Like just those little grubs potentially getting you killed. And I'm sorry, I've played this game for 3 hours. It might start getting good here. I might start actually getting slightly better. I might start enjoying it for what it is, but I've spent so long gimped, so long looking at these upgrades that are stupid that they're not given to you right away. I've spent so long wondering why the fuck they just don't have the default HP distribution be the more HP drops one, at least at the beginning. I can understand taking away a few of those heals towards the end when you're expected to be better at the game, but being so stingy at the beginning is just bad game balance. Fuck me dry. And I will admit, some of this might be my fault, because I constantly get parry and your dash attacks mixed up. And it just drives me insane. I don't know why. Maybe I'm so used to playing games like Monolith that give you a decent dodge. And actually, like, properly telegraph their attacks from certain enemies that... Seriously, I didn't even see the fucking exclamation point that time. Sorry, I just don't care. I really don't care. It does look nice and run well. I'll give it the benefit of the... Oh, well, not the benefit of the doubt. You can see it right here. It does look nice. It does run well. Without getting hit? Fuck that. Enemies are stunned for more time or random drops. I'll take the stun, I suppose. Oh yeah, there are those upgrades, but again, really does feel just more like stat increases than anything else most of the time. Fuck me dry. Seriously, what is it about these fucking bats and then charging me in between slashes? So yeah, it does look nice. Although, it does share a few similarities, not too many, but a few that it just reminds me a little bit too much of another game, which I think I already brought up during this take, which is Monolith After the End, which has somewhat similar graphics to this. It kind of shows in the style. It feels like they got the Monolith After the End artist in here and said, Do that game again, but with a little bit more color and a little bit more pizzazz. It's just odd how I keep thinking about it, despite the fact that these games, other than like their genre, really have nothing to do with each other. I don't know, man. See, look, I just lost my combo. That's just so obnoxious. I don't know why they don't stop that in the middle of the thing when I'm between combat, because if I get hit, I'm gonna lose it anyway, so it's like, what's the point? Again, the fast travel, why is that just not free? Why can't I do, like, deflecting bullets and the combo stuff? Why can't I just have that by default? The balance just doesn't make any sense to me, and it just made the game worse. I know I keep bringing it up, but it is really important. It's to be one of the reasons why I dislike this game so much. You know another reason why I dislike this game? And I know this is gonna sound weird, but the music sounds like you just got a random dude, a random like heavy metal band guitarist, sitting next to you on the floor, and every time you enter a room with enemies in it, you just kick him in the shins and go, okay, Vinny, his name's Vinny apparently, play some random riffs. That's pretty much what this game feels like to me. Oh, fuck me, it's you again. Seriously, what the fuck hit me there? I didn't even see what touched me. What was that about? That one I saw, because remember what I said? There's no point in deflecting a bullet if it's like more than one or two, because the third one is always going to hit you. Unless, of course, you're already out of the way. Can I afford anything from the shops? I doubt it. Oh, I can give myself some HP back. That's nice. Oh, and another thing along the same lines. What's the deal with not reloading the weapon automatically when you come out of combat? You have to actively go in and try and reload it. It's just... that doesn't make any sense to me either. It seems like such a minor thing. But anyway, here's the first boss. The first boss is always the same. Or at least he has been up to this point. I don't have him perfectly whacked, but I know how most of his shit works. Although, I doubt that I'm going to be able to actually kill him this time because I'm on camera. Yeah, you know what they say about being on camera? It adds 20 kilos and it takes away 20% of your skill. But that is still a pretty decent indicator of what a typical run of this game is like for me. Yeah, you've seen enough. I'm sorry, I hate it. I hate it. They've made so many just mind-bogglingly stupid decisions, like the HP economy, the default controls, the way the upgrades work, the way parrying bullets works. Like, the stuff out here that just feels meaningless. The writing quality isn't very good. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not good either. It's just very average. The music just kind of devolves into nothingness once you start a fight. It's just not a satisfying game to play. I feel like it's just kicking my ass for the sake of kicking my ass and not giving me a fair challenge that I can reasonably overcome. As a result, this is where I'll leave it. Shame, really. I was hoping it'd be good. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.